My name is Miko, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. It's kind of my thing. Understanding how people screw up their finances, how the financial system works, and what actually helps people break through that financial wall. If we're someone who's trying to save up for something big, maybe you're just starting to get serious about investing, or you're stuck in the middle class trap with a few thousand in the bank but not knowing what to do next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing, folks. A lot of people think that once they have $20,000 saved up, the hard work is over. You might think that now you've hit the magic number, you're officially in the financially stable zone, but that's not the reality. Now, you might be thinking, Miko, $20,000 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. It's not like I'm a millionaire. And you're right. $20,000 isn't a fortune, but it is a critical milestone. You see, most people live paycheck to paycheck. The average savings for Americans is just under $10,000, and that's if you're lucky. But when you cross the $20,000 threshold, you enter an entirely new financial reality, and things get trickier, not easier. The shocking reality of $20,000. Let me hit you with a stat here. According to a 2021 survey from the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing. So imagine, you're part of the 60% who managed to save up $20,000. That's a huge win. But what comes next? When you cross $20,000, you're no longer just saving to cover emergencies. You're now in the territory of deciding what to do with that money. It's not about paying off credit cards anymore. It's about making the right financial moves that can multiply that $20,000 or let it slip away if you don't know what you're doing. Here's where it gets really interesting, because now you're at a crossroads. You can either choose to invest wisely, or you can let that $20,000 sit in a low-interest savings account where it loses value every year to inflation. The thing is, inflation is sneaky. It eats away at your money like a silent thief, and at 2% per year, $20,000 will lose $400 in value every single year. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make you think about what happens after you hit $20,000. The psychology behind the shift. Now, let's talk psychology for a minute. This is where most people trip up. They think that $20,000 is enough to sit back, relax, and coast for a while. But it's not. You're entering the world of opportunity cost. That's when you start weighing what you could be doing with your money versus what you are doing with it. The problem is, once you hit $20,000, a psychological shift happens. You start thinking in terms of big purchases instead of small wins. You're thinking about buying a new car, paying off a mortgage, or investing in a business. And these are all important financial decisions, no doubt. But here's what most people don't realize. The bigger the decision, the higher the risk, and the more likely you are to mess it up without the proper knowledge. Now you're deciding whether to invest in stocks, real estate, or something else entirely. The problem is, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. The math behind smart investments. Let's take a real example here. Imagine you decide to invest that $20,000 in the stock market. Historically, the average return on the stock market has been about 7% per year. So after 10 years, your $20,000 would grow to about $39,000. But, and here's where it gets tricky, if you put that same $20,000 in a high-interest savings account with a 0.5% return, you'd end up with just $22,800 after 10 years. Not impressive, right? Here's the catch, though. Not every investment is as simple as stocks or bonds. If you're like most people, you may have never even thought about things like real estate, peer-to-peer lending, or starting your own business. But with $20,000, these are the kinds of decisions you're now facing. The right decisions could put you on a path to financial freedom, while the wrong ones might leave you in the same spot, just a little bit older. The psychology here is that once you reach $20,000, you're afraid to lose it more than excited to grow it. And that's normal, but it's also a trap. The key to success is getting comfortable with calculated risk. Now, you might be thinking, Miko, I don't want to lose my money. I worked hard for this. And I get it. You're terrified of making the wrong move and seeing that hard-earned $20,000 disappear. But here's the thing. Sitting on it isn't the answer either. Inflation is still eating away at it, and every year you wait, you're giving up more potential wealth. The truth is, once you have $20,000, you have to do something with it. And that doesn't mean throwing it into risky ventures without research, but it also doesn't mean sticking it under your mattress. There are safer ways to grow your wealth, even with a modest risk profile. All right, here's the game plan for when you hit $20,000. Emergency fund. First things first, make sure your emergency fund is fully stocked. 3 to 6 months of living expenses is the bare minimum. If you haven't hit this target yet, that should be your top priority. Investing smartly. Now it's time to start looking at investments. If you're not sure where to start, index funds are a great option. They give you exposure to the entire stock market without picking individual stocks. You're still in the game, but you're spreading your risk. Diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you're comfortable with it, real estate and alternative investments like peer-to-peer lending could be a good next step. Paying down high-interest debt. If you have credit card debt, paying that down is an instant return on your money. That 18% interest is way higher than what you're going to make on savings. Look, once you hit $20,000, everything changes. You're no longer just saving to survive. You're now playing a bigger game. And this is where most people screw up. They either sit on that money and let it lose value, or they take too much risk and lose it all. But here's the thing, you don't have to be like the rest. You can learn to make smart moves with that $20,000 and watch it grow. So, what are you going to do now? Are you going to sit on it, or are you going to make your money work for you? Let me know in the comments what your next move is. And as always, if you found this video helpful, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe for more financial tips and strategies. Until next time, stay smart with your money.